Welcome to Picture Book Chat, where we feature a handful of new picture books each month and discuss what makes them great. Whether you're a parent, caregiver, or teacher, you're bound to find some wonderful reading suggestions from librarians Mary Ellen Boggs and Sheri Boggs.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Picture Book Chat. I'm Mary Ellen Boggs, and with me today is Sheri Boggs. Hi, we're back again with more books.
Yeah, this is a good group.
Yeah,
I think.
So the first one we have today is What's New, Daniel by Micha Archer. And we are so excited in this one. At least I'm excited. I know
I am
excited. I know Sheri's excited too.
Any book dealing with spring, I'm like, oh yes, please.
Yes. And this is he also did Wonder Walkers, which we've talked about before. So we really like that one too. So this is about a little boy who goes off to meet his grandfather in the park. And grandpa asks, "What's new, Daniel?" And he says, I don't know yet. I'll go find out. And so it's his adventure through the park, looking at all the changes that are going on. So he asks the rock, "What's new?" And then you just see the green grass and the flowers. This picture made me very happy. He sees the bird and asks, "What's new?" And then they go to a pond. I love the artwork in this. Oh gosh,
yeah,
in this book too. And he asks the blackbird, "What's new?" And they say, "Winter is over." At which point I was saying, yes, we all were. And then of course there's a great duck picture in here. And so he goes and asks all the animals what's new. And for the pollywogs, they say, "We're growing legs." So I really love the nature in this book.
Yeah.
I feel like it would pair wonderfully with Wonder Walkers. It would be fun to use to introduce a science unit or to introduce, just nature in general. But then you could do the seasons too.
Yeah.
With this one, shows the little boy running. And I love that it's a city, but it's a park in the city.
Yeah.
And so, we have so many parks here in Spokane. I can see reading this as a family, just reading this book and then going out into the park and seeing what you can see. Be great for childcare providers too, to, kind of read this book and then go outside and see what the kids are finding outside.
Yeah.
And you could do a little nature notebook where they collect things from nature and put them together. So I just thought this one was a lot of fun. It made me want to read it and then go out and take kids out on a little walk, which is what I would have done when my kids were little. What do you think, Sheri?
Oh my gosh. I love everything about this book. Everything that you were saying. And then the art technique, like I love this cut paper thing that's going on. It reminds me of picture books by Denise Fleming, maybe even a little Eric Carle. It seems like there's a lot of really cool layering going on. And the more I look at it, the more great stuff I see. Like I just love the tiny details, like these fiddlehead ferns that you see coming up. And another thing you can do maybe with older kids is talk about, when you see certain things in nature, like what order they come in.
Yeah.
There's certain mushrooms that come at certain times and then the fiddlehead ferns. And then, when do we start seeing lilacs on our trees?
Yeah.
You can kind of talk about how spring is a process. I love the city. I kept looking at the buildings trying to figure out what city we were in.
Yeah.
I never quite got it. But I just, the nature in this, I love the sense that his neighbors are not just people, but these animals that live in the park. It's just really engaging. And I really, like when you were looking through it, one thing that struck me was his little red hood. And I love that artistic choice. It reminds me of The Snowy Day, and it also reminds me of like Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
And I just love that sense of exploration.
Yeah. Because the child pops out in the pictures.
Yeah. I love how they're doing shadows here. I think the text is perfect. I think it would be a great read aloud. Like again with the detail, like I just noticed these guys picnicking.
Yeah. So, I mean, reading it in a group is great, but I think also one-on-one too, because then you can really see the detail.
Yeah.
And I love the ending of the book where he then says, "Tell me what's new with you," when he asks his grandfather, "What's new with you?" And I just like, the scene in the park there, and the child asking, "Oh, what's new?"
Yeah.
So I was very pleased with this one. I can't wait to use this one.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how how the public receives it, or
Right.
if our librarians use it in story time, if it's a winner there too.
Yeah. And I think it's perfect length for story time, for preschool story time too. It's not too short, not too long. So I think that 3, 4, and 5-year-old age would be perfect.
Yeah.
So that's What's New, Daniel. And then on the back, we have the code that you can scan, and it will take you right to our catalog. You can check it out.
Yeah. So our next one, this is Patchwork Prince by Baptiste Paul. There's so much to say about this book. First off, it takes place in the Caribbean. I think it's on the island of St. Lucia. Which I've never been to. Have you been there?
I haven't been there, so it sounds beautiful, though.
Yeah. So it starts out, he is using the metaphor of being a prince, and his mom is the queen, and they set out on this adventure. And they have to be patient and hide. They hear the roaring of a truck, and you see these textiles, like these things of clothes. And when you read the afterword, this is based on his childhood memory, the author's childhood memory of growing up in the Caribbean. And a lot of clothing companies would dump unsold clothes, but rather than let people just have them, they would set them on fire. But he remembers one truck driver that would wait and give people enough time to run in and grab what they want before he had to do his job and set the clothes on fire. So I love that this memory becomes this book about resourcefulness and community, because it's not just him and his mom that do this, it's their neighbors too. And so they run in, they get the things that they want, and then they bring them home and hang them up. And I love this page because there's so much you can talk about in terms of pattern here.
Yeah.
You can talk about checkerboards. You can talk about plaid.
Right.
You can talk about whatever's going on here. I don't know if that's knitting, batik.
Yeah.
Great words to learn. And so the boy's doing housework while the mom is putting these things together. And she talks about how each piece tells a story: black for beauty, gold for royalty, blue for dignity, green for life, red for strength. And when she finishes, he's got this gorgeous patchwork cloak, which of course makes me think of Dolly Parton and the coat of many colors.
Yeah.
Very similar story, actually. Except here, everybody's in awe of this beautiful garment. Whereas I think in the Dolly Parton story, it doesn't go that way. She gets made fun of by the kids because kids are terrible. And here they're dancing. I just love the rich, saturated colors. And I love the way the artist is able to make it seem like light is coming through all of this fabric. Just gorgeous. I love that this is based in a memory. I love all the light in it. What did you think, Mel?
Oh, I loved it. I think the color story in this, just the pictures are so brilliant and beautiful. And I love the story. It's nice to learn something about another country. So I really enjoyed the story. And like, I never would have known about that, and that there were all these manufacturers there making clothing, and then they would just dump them.
Yeah.
And just, the resourcefulness of the family, and that how proud they were of everything that they made too.
Yeah.
And how everybody on Sunday would wear their best, and they loved showing off their clothing that they had made. So I could see it doing a lot with this book, both like in an art class, getting those bright colors, but this would be a great one to talk about different countries with kids. I think it would be a good one for creating different objects, like, they took what they had
Right.
and made something, what can we make with these items?
With something, throwaway things.
Yeah, and be creative.
Mhm.
So I love the creative process there. And I love that the story where he's a prince and his mom is the queen, and
Mhm.
that mother-son relationship is so sweet.
Yeah.
I really like that too. So yeah, it was such a beautiful book. I kept reading it over and over again because I love the story, and I love the illustrations in it too, and the artwork in it.
There's a lot of joy
Yes.
in this book, which I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about things like throwaway culture or poverty. Like sometimes those books can feel really heavy, and this one doesn't. Like it's just full of creativity and happiness.
And there's an author note at the back where he talks about it too. And he said, they never realized that they were poor.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't feel poor, even though they knew kind of there were. And, there were, he said, his days were filled with joy.
Mm-hmm. You can see it in this picture of him and his brother.
But there were times where it was a struggle. But yes, it was really great to have this background information too. And I think for older kids, that would be nice scaffolding before you read the story. But I think you could read it to preschoolers, and you could read it to that K1-2 age too.
Yeah, and I like that he talks about, even though his circumstances are very different now, he still shops in secondhand stores, and it's like discovering treasure. And I don't know if it's still a practice, but I know there was a while in the United States where clothing stores would do that with unsold stock. Like they would have to tear it up before they threw it in the dumpster, so that people wouldn't just take stuff out. And it seems crazy to me. Like it's just like, well, it's perfectly good clothes. I don't know. Yeah. That's why I'm not in business.
Yeah. Right. And I love how he addresses the reader at the end. And dear reader, you are too. He goes, I get the exact feeling of being a prince because I am. And dear reader, you are too. So I like the way he ended that.
Yeah. Just a gorgeous book.
Yeah.
I love it.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
Here's the code if you want to place a hold on this and get a copy to look at home. What's next?
And it's Mommy's New Friend.
Yes. Love this book.
This is a great book. I really liked it. I think they dealt with the situation so well. So it would necessarily be a book you would read in a group, but it's a nice book to have when, you might need it.
Yeah.
But Shelley Tougas is the author, and the illustrator Sara Palacios. Yeah, Palacios. And again, illustrations, and I love the end papers too. But the little girl talks about everything she's not supposed to do when the guy that picks up mommy for a date, and so it's really, I think the characters are very cute, and it seems like a very homey home. And it says, you can't stick out your tongue. You can't say Yoda is my name while jumping on the couch. Basically, all the stuff that, you can't misbehave. You can, then it says what you can say. You can say, I'm Lily, nice to meet you. So they go through quite a few scenarios with the babysitter coming, and it goes, it's all, you can, but you can't do this. You can't play runaway with mommy's dressy shoes. You can't hide a picture of daddy in mommy's purse. But you can give that. But you can give her cheek kisses, mouth kisses, smear lipstick. You can pack Eddie Bear for your own date, a weekend with daddy. So they do address that, where she has, she goes and sees dad, and, they're just getting to know each other. And, they talk about going to Thanksgiving. She says, at that guy's Thanksgiving. I love how she refers to him as that guy. You can break the wishbone with mommy, but not with daddy because he gets Christmas. So it's really talking about the whole situation between, parents that are together. So, but then dad comes into the picture and I thought they dealt with this so well.
Yeah.
And you can show them. And then she talks about having the best time with daddy. And then there comes a time where mommy's sick, so that guy picks her up. But when that guy comes to school, then she says, and you can tell your teacher his name is Carl. So there's a shift in the book from that guy to Carl. Mm-hmm. And you can let Carl take you to the park. And then she's got something at school coming up where she's making a rocket. And then you see that it's, dad and Carl and mom there. So it's a nice book on co-parenting too. And, but you can bring 3 guests to the science fair, which I think is really important for kids because they start to stress out then about who's going to come or who won't come or who can't come because there's not enough space. So I thought this was great. And it ends with you can have a mommy and a daddy and a Carl. So I thought this was very well done. I could see a couple of, children over the years of my life that this would have been really helpful for. What was your thought, Sheri?
I loved this book. I felt like it was so healthy in the way that it depicted, a fairly common situation. I think this is something, a lot of kids are looking at in their families. Yeah. And I love that it respects the child's emotions. Like it's not immediately like, you have to accept this guy is like new dad or something. Yeah, right. Like it's very realistic about, at first it's like, oh, this is this guy that's picking up mom to go on a date. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm just going to call him that guy. And I love her mischievousness because the word I'm trying to say, like you can't play It's Raining Popcorn on that guy. I love that she's got a healthy amount of, maybe self-respect and knowing that she can take her time and getting to know this guy. She doesn't have to let him in right away. And I just love her observations about things, like sometimes you don't get your favorite babysitter. You get the old lady who thinks carrots are a yummy snack. I love how she's hiding down here with the dog. Yeah. Although the dog would probably love some of those carrots. Yes. Again, I love the art in this. Like it's very kind of flat, almost like paper. But everybody's just so expressive. I love all the characters in this book. Yeah. Super fun language. Yeah. And like you, I like, how it shows them gradually getting to know each other's families. And that she's kind of accepting that, okay, well, we do Thanksgiving here, we do Christmas here. And then just seeing dad come into the picture, as an adult, you're kind of like, oh no, how's this going to go? And it's just fine. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a big traumatic thing. It's like, you're all adults. You can figure it out, how to manage all this. And I love that Carl and the dad get along. And really it's all about providing, a good space for the little girl. It's all kind of, I love that a lot of these scenes are about what's going on in her life and that they're there to support her. Yeah. And that they let her go through the process of getting used to somebody. I think that's really important. So this is, and again, I love the artwork in it too. Yeah. And, very nice. It was a great job of dealing with a, somewhat, tricky situation at times. Yeah. Yes. So that was Mommy's New Friend. Great title. Yeah. And on the back, there's the code there that you can scan. And I love the back of the book too. It says you can make room for 3 and a book about blended families. So it gives you an idea what the book is about at the end. So I thought it was very well done. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Love this one. Yeah. All right. So our last one is The Search for the Giant Arctic Jellyfish.
This
It's
book.
so great. So right away, I love the scale on the cover. Like, this really is a giant Arctic jellyfish. It's humongous. Here's our tiny little explorer. And you learn that she's been on this quest to find this giant Arctic jellyfish her entire life. And I love that it gives you kind of the setting right away. Like, this is the area of the world we're talking about. I just love the detail. This reminds me, I mean, it's a grown-up film. It's not a kid's film, but The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, like all of these little details feel like a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah.
You see her working in the lab. I love this page where she's in the water with all these tiny jellyfish. You get a cross-section of the boat.
And then what the crew is all doing throughout the book. It's really interesting. I really was looking at it last night, and, you see the baker looking at a cookbook. You see them getting settled in. You even see the bathroom.
That's important. For kids, that might be reassuring to know that there's a couple bathrooms on board.
Yeah.
And I like seeing what's going on both inside and outside, like with these little crabs. And then you get to learn about all these animals that live in the Arctic. And so, like, on this page, you meet the narwhals. I think there's another page. Oh, you get to meet all these belugas. And I love what's going on in the margins of the story, kind of, like they're all looking this way and the jellyfish is peeking around, and I'm gendering this jellyfish. The jellyfish is just as curious about them as they are about her. I hear you've got some orcas. Kind of worried about that seal.
Yeah. And I had the same thought.
I know.
And then the jellyfish is underneath. So you can I love because you can say, so where do we see the jellyfish on this page? Where is the jellyfish?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how the artist achieves the transparency, the jellyfish, and how in places it just kind of fades right into the background. And so there's more daily life. I love that there's some pastries going on.
Yes.
It's like they're having tea or something. You get some northern lights, and I love that the jellyfish is watching them.
I love that page. I think
isn't that beautiful?
Is spectacular.
Yeah. So this book builds a great sense of wonder, I think.
Yeah.
Here it's like they've been looking, and everybody's getting kind of ready to give up because they've been to sea for so long. I love the icebergs and the polar bear.
And I love where they place the jellyfish, too, because it's underneath the boat, like playing with their little net there.
It's like spending a whole time. And I love this page. I wasn't sure what was going on, and it turns out they're talking about algae.
Yeah. And that it was irresistible to a jellyfish and munching away. So they thought for sure they'd see it.
Yeah.
And they even say, this is our moment.
I know. And I love that they've got somebody down there with a camera. And I just love the emotional story kind of in these illustrations. I love, you can just kind of see how forlorn
how
our
dejected she is that she hasn't seen it yet.
But there's always hope. But I love kind of the sunset, sunrise. I'm not sure what time of day we're talking about here. And then it ends on like, it's not a complete resolution. It kind of leaves you hanging like, wait, could that be?
Yeah.
But of course they see each other.
Yeah. And it looks like it's waving.
Yeah. So what did you think about this one, Mary Ellen?
I loved it. It would be great just to use as like if you were starting a unit on the ocean and or water animals, just and in a different part of the world where it's so cold. And so I thought this would be a good one for some scaffolding beforehand. And it's imaginative, right? This is fantasy.
Yeah.
But that sense of adventure. I love that the scientist is female.
Yep.
And that she's leading this whole expedition. So it gives kids a sense of kind of what a scientist might do if they were, looking at ocean animals and what they could be doing. So I thought that was great. I love the detail in the pictures too. So I could see this reading in a group maybe and one-on-one. Because there's lots to look at in the pictures. I mean, even this beginning one where they're leaving and there's people waving to them. You see like the lighthouse, people working on the dock. So there's lots to look at in here. I think in terms of ages, your older preschools, K1, 2, this would be good for.
Yeah.
It might be a little long for younger preschoolers. But I think, kids just love all the ocean animals.
I know.
And I think this would be great. So this could lead into another unit that you might want to do on different ocean animals that they can find.
This is at the higher end, like you're saying, of preschool, but I know we have a preschool book bag that one of our librarians, Rachel, put together called Polar Pals.
Yes.
And this just seems like it would be such a fun book to include with that, just because it's showing a completely different landscape. And you do talk about some of the animals that do actually live there.
And I love with the cross section of the ship that they're on, you can really talk about the daily life of a scientist that's maybe out to sea and, what goes on, on the ship. And, they're not working all the time.
Yeah.
They're sleeping. Looks like they're reading before they go to bed. They've got to clean up the kitchen, all of that too. So you get some daily life in there.
Yeah.
So I just thought a spectacular book, and the colors, it really kind of makes you feel like like you're in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that you can really you're kind of sucked into the story. So I really like that. I thought it was a great story. Definitely. Just something really different that we haven't seen in a while, I felt like.
Yeah, like I'm not familiar with this author, illustrator either, Chloe Savage. I don't know how many books they've done before.
Yeah.
This is her first book.
Yeah, she lives in England, so it's interesting that she chose that topic, so she must have an interest.
Yeah.
Really interesting to find out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more from her.
Yeah.
So there's the code if you want to scan that and check this out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sheri, for finding such great books for us to talk about. So much fun.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for joining us today for Picture Book Chat, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.